Eliza P really allows your GPU to stretch its legs at these lower resolutions, but has some odd 1% low behavior that limits some GPU's playability at higher resolutions. Now, I know you really want to get into these benchmarks, so I'll talk about my test path and settings at the end of the video. Now let's get into these benchmarks, Ultrawide fans. Starting off with 3440 by 1440p, we see that this game really flies, and the RTX 4090 is crushing it, getting 239 FPS, 1 FPS shy of the extreme refresh rate line, and 27% faster than the next fastest GPU, the RTX 4080, which comes in at 188 FPS, which bests its sparring partner, the RX 7900 XTX, by 11%, seeing the XTX come in at 168 FPS. The XTX is in turn 11% faster than both the RX 7900 XT and the RTX 4070 Ti, which are effectively tied at 152 FPS. These two managed to best the standard RTX 4070 by 27%, as it just misses very high refresh rates with 119 FPS. And last we have the RTX 2080 with 71 FPS, making the latest 80 series card 2.7 times faster, or if you want to look at cards at the same $800 price, then they are 2.2 times faster than my old RTX 2080. When we look at 1% lows, we see the cards run the gamut from good 1% low deviation to terrible. If we look at the NVIDIA cards, we see the fastest cards with the best 1% low deviation. As the cards get slower, it gets worse and worse. The AMD cards exhibit a similar, if slightly more extreme version of this. Why is this happening? Well, if you look at the raw FPS drop, you can see that almost every card is dropping 50th FPS, except for the 2080, which just gets its FPS halved. So what's causing this behavior? Well, if we look at this live frame time footage from one of our higher resolutions, to make it more obvious, we see this sawtoothing in the frame time graph. But it's not always there. As you can see, if we look this way, the graph smooths out. But if we look back, the sawtoothing comes back. This sawtooth happens frequently enough that it causes these huge 1% low gaps. The sawtooth delta doesn't seem to change based on card performance, at least on the NVIDIA side, as you will see as we go up the resolutions. I'm not sure what effect is causing every other frame to be laggy, but hopefully it gets fixed in a future patch. With all that said, most cards are getting such high FPS at this resolution that it's going to feel pretty smooth. Only the RTX 2080, despite getting over 60 FPS, has such terrible 1% lows, it's going to be a chop fest. Moving up to the 3840 by 1600p resolution, we see the RTX 4090 still way out ahead with 210 FPS, now 34% faster than the RTX 4080, which gets 157 FPS, and is now 8% faster than the 7900 XTX at 146 FPS. The XTX is 14% faster than both the RTX 4070 Ti and the 7900 XT, which despite swapping spots are still effectively tied at 129 FPS. These two are 30% faster than the RTX 4070, which is at 99 FPS. Bringing up the rear is the RTX 2080, hanging on to 60 FPS. You're looking at a 2.6 times increase at the same tier, or a 2.2 times increase at the same price if you're looking to upgrade. Looking at the 1% lows, we see a general worsening of relative performance for all the NVIDIA cards, as the raw performance drop stays largely unchanged. The AMD cards close the gap to their NVIDIA rivals, with the XTX matching the RTX 4080 and having better 1% low variant than the previous resolution. The XT gets closer to the 4070 Ti, but it ultimately loses relative performance. Most cards are going to still be fine performance-wise at this resolution, despite the significant 1% low dips. Only the 4070 and 2080 have things to worry about. Moving up to our super ultrawide resolution of 5120 by 1440p, the RTX 4090 is still getting an impressive 183 FPS, 33% ahead of the RTX 4080 with 137 FPS. The 7900 XTX is 9% slower than the 4080 for the average FPS, but 13% faster for the 1% lows, and 15% slower than the XTX are the 7900 XT and RTX 4070 Ti, which once again have traded places and once again are effectively tied at 110 FPS. A pretty healthy 31% drop from them is the RTX 4070 at 83 FPS. The RTX 2080 is now below 60 FPS, and again we see a 2.7 times increase at the same tier, or 2.1 times at the same cost. When looking at the 1% lows, we see a continuation of what we saw before with the NVIDIA cards, where they get roughly the same FPS drop as previous resolutions, but now have worse deltas as overall performance comes down. The AMD cards are a bit of a split result, as the XTX manages to lower its delta, while the XT has a slight regression. the RTX 4070 Ti and the RTX 7900 XT are now joining the RTX 4070 in the dangerous range for visible frame stutter. At the highest resolution of 5120 by 2160p, once again the RTX 4090 is the standout card at 133 FPS, 38% ahead of the RTX 4080 at 97 FPS, which is just 7% faster than the 7900 XTX at 90 FPS. Now 18% behind, the 7900 XT and the RTX 4070 Ti are even more tied than ever at 77 FPS and now tied in the 1% lows. The RTX 4070 is 32% behind and sub 60 FPS at 57 FPS, with the RTX 2080 struggling at 36 FPS. We can get the RTX 4070 back up above 60 by using DLSS quality. As for upgrading from the RTX 2080, you gain 2.7 times or 2.1 times the performance whether you want to stay in the same tier or the same price range. The 1% lows now show that only the RTX 4090 and RX 700 XTX are providing fast enough 1% lows to avoid stuttering. If the sawtooth effect can be mitigated, it would allow virtually all our GPUs to play at this resolution. As promised, let's talk about how I got to those results. Well, the settings I used were full screen, or maximum screen as they call it, the test resolution, unlimited frame rate, VSync off, FSR and DLSS off, but be careful. When first starting the game, the standard setting for FSR is to be on performance mode, if you don't jump into the settings and change it. Then set the graphics quality preset to best, which sets all the settings to best. As for the test path, due to this game's very aggressive autosave and no manual save, I have to run a circuit, where I start at the station platform, run into the station proper, go to the far door and turn back, running the opposite side from the way I came. I saw an average deviation of 0.3 FPS between runs. All this testing was done on my test system that includes an R7 5800X 3D, 32GB of 3200Hz CL14 memory, all run off of a Samsung 990 Pro NVMe SSD, running Windows 11 and the latest AMD and NVIDIA drivers. The super high refresh rates at lower resolutions means you're going to have a great experience on almost any card with this game. But as you go up in resolution, the sawtoothing we saw in the frame time graph means that you're not going to get the smoothness you expect from the FPS you're getting, even on some pretty high-end cards. Ultimately, Liza P provides a very playable game with very high refresh rates that will hopefully get smoother over time. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy Ultrawide content like this, please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my other reviews. If you want to see the other games I've benchmarked, you can check out this video here. Or if you want to check out a deep dive into any of these cards, you can check out here. If you want to show this channel some love, you can use my affiliate link in the description below to buy one of these GPUs or anything else on your shopping list. Or you can sign up to my Patreon, or hit me up with a super. Thank you for watching. I'm Scott, and I'll see you next time, Ultrawide fans.